So we're going to get started. I just want to introduce Dr. Naia Wilson to our Member Stories podcast, which is a podcast series based on sharing the stories of our members. There's so many stories and so many lived experiences amongst everyone who is part of the Gen Unity community, and everyone is unique in their own way, right? And there's so much to learn from one another and to communicate with one another. And I feel like this is a really beautiful platform to share that. And to really to get to know everybody because I don't know everyone. I don't think we've met properly either. Um, so yeah, welcome to the Members Stories podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm honored that I was asked to share my story. And I can talk a little bit later about why this is such a really truly a unique experience for me right now.
You can go ahead. Go ahead
Uh,
and say what you
so,
need to, yeah, whatever you want to say.
well, I think the first set of first things I actually like those questions that you gave me, the earlier
Yeah.
one, about what I like to do when for fun.
Hmm.
And I actually it things change over time, so now that I'm in my 60s, um just being with family and loved ones is a really valuable experience for me right now.
Hmm.
um I really enjoy it, but if you had to ask me like what movies I really like, anything with Denzel in it, it doesn't matter
Ooh,
what it is. It doesn't matter as long as he's in it. As soon as I see him, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to enjoy that, and I always do.
yeah.
So
He's so good.
yeah, he's awesome.
He's
Shows
amazing.
my
Was he?
age too.
No, it's okay. I mean, I feel like was he in the Skeleton Key? Was he in
Oh,
that?
well,
I'm
I
trying to
know he was like
remember.
in the all the Equalizers, Training
Hmm.
Day, Man
Yes,
on Fire, like
those are
just
good movies.
just so many good movies.
Yeah.
American Gangster was probably one of my favorites, but I also like that one when he was a pilot flight and he was an alcoholic. Oh my God, that was so good.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
an excellent actor.
He's just amazing. He was Malcolm X, just like so
Yeah.
many ones.
Yeah. Yeah, and he has
Mhm.
a really beautiful face as well. So
Yeah.
it helps to see Denzel and the name Denzel Washington. It's
Hmm.
crazy how good that
Yeah.
name is.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I love that you started with that question because everyone relaxes in such a different way. And it's nice to hear how people relax. Maybe we can have like a movie night at Gen Unity. That would be kind of fun. We have
Wouldn't
to
that
see
be
about
fun?
that.
Yeah.
That would be fun as a community. Okay, I want to ask one more question. And I like this question. Is no, let me start off like this. What's the biggest risk you've ever taken?
Oh, the biggest risk. Wow, that is a great question
Hmm.
because I would have to, if I really had to say the risk this is part of my career pathway and trajectory,
Hmm.
but you know, um, when you decide that you are going to be that courageous voice,
Hmm.
it comes with risk.
Right.
And so some environments that you work in, you feel like it's very allowable. And there are some that you work in, and when you decide that you're going to be the courageous voice of others,
Hmm.
that's a risk that you
It
take.
is. Yeah.
So I think that I spent a lot of time in my career as in school leadership, being a voice for the other principals, for students, and it's a risk that you take. It was well worth it though.
Right. Yeah, being working in that sector in terms of like the educational space is difficult. I've never worked in this space, but I can imagine it. I've thought about being a teacher, and there's a
Mm.
lot to think about, especially even being a principal. And we're going to get into it because your bio is incredible. I read from top to bottom. I was like, there's so much in here to talk
Yeah.
about and to ask questions about. And so I want to just share some pointers from your bio because it's just really impressive and really beautiful also to read. So your career began as an engineer, and
Yes.
then you later transitioned into education, like what you just explained, and leadership, driven by a commitment to expanding women's roles in technology, which is also super beautiful. Um, you also built a 30-year career as a mathematics teacher, instructional coach, and principal, earning distinctions, it's a hard word sometimes to say, such as, is it Title I Distinguished School Award?
Yes.
Yes, okay. And the National Blue Ribbon School for Improvement, as well as the Ed Vestor School on the Move Prize. Wow. And then you also, after that, dedicated your leadership to equity and justice, working to dismantle institutional barriers that contribute to the school to prison pipeline for students of color, which is massive. We're definitely going to touch on that. And as a survivor of domestic violence and justice impacted leader, you found renewed purpose as at justice for housing. Sorry, the sentence is hard to say for some
Hmm.
reason. But yes, so you helped hundreds of individuals secure housing and advocate for fair treatment in public housing systems. We're also going to touch on that. And then you also hold advanced degrees, including a PhD from UMass Boston, and bring a trauma-informed, dignity-centered approach to your advocacy and community leadership. Like
Yeah,
it's just
that's
really
it.
beautiful. Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, so I want to just get started on my first question. So in
Mhm.
your bio, you mentioned a time when you feared you may not be able to serve your community anymore. Can you describe that moment of fear in detail?
Oh yeah, that was a very, very low part. It was near the end of my career, actually, that I became justice involved at my
Hmm.
retirement, near retirement. And the reason why I became justice involved was I made some mistakes. I made some wrong decisions. But it was something that had been going on for several years, and I was in a not good relationship. And so I that's why I consider myself a survivor of domestic violence, and my children are survivors.
Hmm.
And so at that time when I became justice involved, I thought it was all over. I said, I had spent so many years, blood, sweat, and tears, working with young people and really trying to advocate for equitable educational systems. And I just spent so much time. And the reason why I got my PhD is because I was looking for more answers to,
Hmm.
well, I thought that maybe I had even come up with some great solutions um, in the school that I was running at the time. We were very, very successful. And so I thought, I need to either write this myself, or research more, find out more. And so that's really the reason why I went and got my PhD.
I see.
Um,
And so, oh, go ahead.
yeah. So I mean that speaks to really just me trying to do the best I could for the young people that I was servicing. I always serviced predominantly Black and brown children, predominantly people from poor communities, in and around Boston. Um, and so the work was really about, I mean, I also grew up very poor. I grew up right in Mattapan from the time I was 13 years old. I was a product of MECO program. And for those who don't know what MECO is, it's a busing integration program where it sends inner city kids out to the suburban communities. And so I was a product of MECO. Um, I went to Brookline Public Schools. And so the reality of all of this is my own personal experience in school and then running schools, I saw the inequities, and then my children also being MECO, my two children, and me constantly seeing the inequities between what was happening in the school that I was running, in the
Hmm.
schools that my children were going to, and what I had experienced in the MECO program.
Hmm.
Um, I was always fighting to shift that inequality. And
Right.
so, and you do that in so many different ways. You have to be very innovative and you have to try to be budget neutral. So,
Yeah. It
yeah,
seems very difficult. I have more questions because there was
yeah,
a bunch in there, but I guess I'm just gonna go for it. So, what was the most challenging aspect of doing that work specifically, and how did you overcome that?
yeah. Well, I think what's most challenging is when you recognize that you and your school community is really truly I mean, I'm just going to put it out there because,
Hmm.
you know, I voiced it before. I never really felt 100% supported by the administration. There was some supports, but a lot of it was dependent on what you were going to do. So I ran an autonomous school, and
Okay.
so the autonomy of the school allowed me to, um, have our own governance, make our own curriculum decisions, things like that. So our program, the reason why we ended up getting so many awards is because our
Hmm.
MCAT scores continued to improve.
Oh,
And
wow.
they improved because it was the school community, the teachers, the
Hmm.
administrators working together and making decisions about what we would do. And we did some key things. We
Okay.
recognized that in order for students to do well on that MCAS exam, and MCAS is kind of not there anymore, but at this time, MCAS was, a real driving force. But
Hmm.
we recognized that MCAS was not the end all be all into to education. And if it was the standard, shame on us, is really what it is. So we decided that we were going to hold a very high standard for young people. And you can't hold the standard so high without the levels of support that are necessary. So we held the standard high, very high. And we made program of studies shifts that would support the young people with whatever they needed. So we filled their gaps. So in other words, one example is that all of the students at this high school that I was running um, would have finished advanced algebra by the end of 10th grade, which is when they took the exam, instead of geometry, which was the normal sequence of courses. We did that in all different ways. Sometimes some kids had to double up in their math classes, and we just let them know this is what it looks like to go to school, to a college prep school.
Yeah.
So that was just one strategy. But the teachers, I had to give them a lot of credit because they were working with young people that not necessarily walked into the school with all the skills that were necessary. We also had a rigorous advanced placement program. So we really wanted every young person to graduate with taking at least one advanced placement class.
Okay.
And it was a lot of work on teachers. And it was a lot of work on the young people. And so we would do things, we'd had to let the families know when a child takes an advanced placement class, it means that they have to study more. We need your partnership with that.
Yeah.
So it was basically high expectations, autonomy around programs of study, and really pushing young people to believe that they could do it, and that
Hmm.
college, 4-year college was the end game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the reason why the scores went up, because we shifted all of our program of studies to a higher standard, which automatically filled in gaps for that exam.
I see. So the students that went to your school really felt that and just kind of listened to what you
We
were
preached it.
activating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
And
we
so
preached it. It was, you could say we was a little bit, we were
yeah.
we definitely had everybody who went to the school understood that this is what
Okay.
this when you come to this school, this is what it is. It's college prep. It's 4-year college prep. We're preparing you for
Okay.
4 years. So we weren't trying to be everything for everybody. We weren't trying to
Okay.
be a vocational school, and it was a small school too. So at the time I was there, we had around 400 some odd kids. So we weren't trying to be everything for everybody.
Right.
We weren't trying, so we were a college prep program. That's what we do. And
Yeah.
and so anyone who comes here is college prep material.
Right.
And we get you there. Everybody's path may be slightly different, but we'll get you there.
That's
So we
great.
did have
And
high rates of graduation, high rates of college
mhm.
admissions. Great, but believe me, it couldn't happen without that group of teachers that were doing the work. It was a lot, and we had amazing team.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is amazing. So you did mention the administrators did make it challenging. And so how did that shift at
Well,
one point?
so when I say that, just mean when you are an autonomous school and you're trying to do what you're doing, it's
Hmm.
not it's not necessarily that everybody is going to there's there's always pushback. There's always
Right.
people asking you or accusing you of things.
I see.
It's really disturbing actually, but you
Yeah.
know, um there were I remember one day I stood up in a meeting with a bunch of principals and the administration, and I did say, I don't always feel supported, and I also feel sometimes that, I shouldn't have to fight the administration to get what I need for my kids, you know.
Right.
So we I mean, back then, computers was a perfect example. So I had autonomy around budget. So I would, every year I would try to purchase additional computers. I mean, now the whole compute since COVID, computers are,
Right.
a par for the course. But back then it wasn't necessarily. And so those are the types of decisions that we made for the young people.
That's great. And so I guess this is going to be I don't think my last question about you being a principal, but what was your favorite part about it? Was there like a certain day, a certain memory?
Oh, absolutely. Well, college admissions was is such a high. When you see young people working for 4 years, blood, sweat, and tears, and I mean tears, and then when you see then the college acceptances come through and the bulletin board just fills up, it's a wonderful thing because they realize I did this and I'm going to move forward and I'm going to do it, you
Right.
know? And it's
Right.
beautiful. It really
Yeah.
is. Um, and I got a lot of pushback with, college isn't for everyone, this,
Right.
nope, but this is what we're doing here, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, um, yeah, the battle is the battle. I mean, the district has to do their job as well.
Hmm.
But definitely, I think that principals, the job itself is an immense job because you are dealing with not just teachers and young people, and you're dealing with every aspect of a child's life.
Right.
And I think that the level of support that you deserve, you should have full support
Hmm.
from your district at all times. Doesn't always happen though.
No. And that's the sad part. I wish I went to a private school and I wish I went to your school. By the sounds of what you're saying, it sounds like I needed that as well. Just that encouragement and that push, you know?
Yep. Big push.
Um, yeah, and it's important, and especially for teenagers and kids in middle school, they really
Hmm.
need that sometimes. So I found that I find that I needed that as I aged, especially. Um, okay, so what advice would you give to those who are navigating public housing challenges and
Mm.
homelessness? Now we're going to shift to your current work and kind of
I
just going
just,
into
yeah,
that. Go
I
ahead.
just want to say that we are in a crisis, and so
Yeah.
when I started this journey or this career path,
Hmm.
I had no idea how devastating the city of Boston was in terms of like, I always knew that the rents were high, but I
Yeah.
never realized how many people are homeless. And then you look at people who are justice involved, and because they have something negative on their background, they become it's another form of discrimination actually that the Corey can be used and and they could be denied public housing. And
Right.
so basically people who are formerly incarcerated, they are 10 times more likely to be homeless. So what I strongly urge for people, well, there's a lot that you can do. First of all, you can um you can appeal denials. And that's the work that we do. You actually have the right to appeal the denial. And the Fair Housing Act says that you're supposed to be asked to provide mitigating factors on anything that's negative on your query. You're not supposed to just be denied, blanketly denied, and assume that a person is, going to be a detriment to the housing community. And so we do a lot of that type of work where we provide mitigating factors. People, all types of things have happened in their lives.
Hmm.
And, I think to myself, this is exactly the executive director, this is exactly what she thought about, when she was incarcerated and when she got out, she had a home to go to. But there were so many people that she was incarcerated with that had nowhere to go.
Right.
And she wanted to do something about it. And so she created Justice for Housing and she advocated for people to be able to get public housing. She used the model that we use now, which is our hands-on defense model, and it's a participatory defense model in which we go to appeal hearings with clients. We bring a web of support of community members,
Hmm.
people with lived experience, and we demonstrate that the mitigating factors in the context of a person's life matters and that it's not just about that thing that's on their Corey.
Right.
And it's just so real because I have, since I've been with Justice for Housing for almost 2 years now, when I hear people's stories, it's easy to tell the public housing authority administrators who are denying people. It's easy to tell a person's story because nobody is born doing something wrong. There's
Oh.
always context. There's always, I'm not making excuses, but there are mitigating factors. And people do improve their lives after, they've served their consequences. They do deserve the second chance. Um, they deserve it.
I have a two-part question. Like, in terms of your experience appealing, how successful has that been with your help? And then also, how long is the process?
Yeah, great question. So a person could get a public housing denial. And by the way, Boston Housing Authority has made leaps and bounds around this. So working closely with Justice for Housing and our executive director, they have actually changed their administrative plan. So they don't just flat out deny people anymore based on their
Okay.
query. They ask for mitigating. They send a letter and they actually changed it like last year and said, this is not a denial. We're just asking you for mitigating factors on this case that we see on
Hmm.
your query. Now, there's about 240 public housing authorities across the state. The other 239 do deny Roth. So
Wow.
so
Okay.
yeah, unfortunately, but that's our work. We're trying to work with public housing authorities to actually make that shift so that people are just not denied off the bat. So
Right.
let's just say a person comes in and they say, I got this letter, this denial
Hmm.
letter. They usually give people 20 days, no, 10 days to appeal.
Okay. So that's quick.
So you have to put the appeal in, right? But let's just exclude Boston Housing Authority because they're our partner and they work really well with us. Like they
Okay.
literally, if we don't get the appeal letter in within 10 days, they're not saying no to us.
Okay. Hmm.
So they're really flexible. We know them well, they know us well, right? But other housing authorities, they tell you, did you get the letter in on time? The appeal, so then you get your appeal hearing, and it happens quickly. So you have to move quickly
Right.
and create this counter narrative. You have to interview the client, but they do. I've found that they work fairly quickly in scheduling your appeal hearing. And then we have to put everything together and prepare for the hearing.
It's kind of good that it's a quick turnaround.
Yeah,
So
it's
people
it's
can,
fairly
yeah.
quick turnaround. If you get your letter in, and then they'll schedule something for you. Boston Housing is a little slower if it's an appeal,
Hmm.
but they do something better, which is they ask for mitigating in advance.
That's great.
Sometimes it takes a little long, for them to get back to us, but it's a give and take, and they're flexible with us, and we're flexible with them. They're our
Yeah.
partners. We
Yeah.
appreciate them because they've made some significant shifts. They really have.
Would you say that Justice for Housing helped with creating those changes
Oh, I would
and
definitely say that.
especially through the partnership?
Oh, I would definitely say that. And we
Yeah.
have a whole far from home report that was created, and it was recommendations, 12 recommendations on things that should happen around housing for people who are formerly incarcerated.
Uh-huh.
It's right on our website. And we're continuing to fight for many other things,
Yeah.
clean slate, and we're trying to launch our first hands-on defense class where we'll be
Okay.
developing a group of peer leaders, and those peer leaders will be delivering this instruction across the state, at different organizations, people who are case managers, people who work with people who are formerly incarcerated. So we're really
Uh-huh.
excited that we're getting to launch this whole education piece,
Yeah.
and informing people because people have rights and people need the housing. They
Right.
need it.
Yeah. That's amazing. And I kind of want to just continue on, especially because you've talked so much about your work and all of this, and we're going to continue on with that. But you also share about the moment when your lived experience first became central to your trauma-informed approach as a leader. Can you
Oh
tell us
yeah.
a little bit more about that? Because trauma-informed is huge. And
Yeah. Oh
so,
yeah.
how has your lived experience really given you that expertise of, yeah, I know how to lead in these situations and even with that confidence?
Well, I mean, first of all, being an educator, you have to be trauma informed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just being an educator, working with young people, all the years that I had been working with them, being a mother, that teaches you. But really, truly, when I became justice involved and had to filter through the system. Although I didn't filter through it, I wasn't in prison. But I filtered through the system and I felt every bit of it. And my
Mm-hmm.
family felt every bit of it. And once I started to work with clients and heard their stories, I really, really understood it. I understood it more from a standpoint of how, when they tell you that they've lost their family and trying to help them reunify with their family because they were incarcerated, when they tell you that they experienced trauma while they were in prison or experienced trauma just going through the system and the loss of and the worry and the concern that their quarry is not going to allow them to be able to make a living. It's
Mm-hmm.
very real. And so you have to understand all that's happening within a person. And I think what's most surprising to me, or just what is what I really have gratitude around, is that every single person that walks through our doors,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a majority of Black men,
Mm-hmm.
um, they walk through our doors so humble
Mm-hmm.
and so appreciative, and it's actually a delight to work with. So many of the gentlemen that I've worked with,
Mm-hmm.
it's been a true delight in helping them get keys to a place to stay
Yeah.
has been, it's almost, when I compare giving a child a diploma or giving a child on graduation day or
Mm-hmm.
giving, when our young people would get their acceptance to college, that was like a high point. I don't think anything feels better when somebody tells me, "Nay, I got my keys."
Mm-hmm.
I don't even I think it feels even better, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so for so many years I spent in this bubble of education, and I mean I understood what was going on outside of my world, but I didn't really understand what was going on outside of my world until I started here.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing actually all that work that we were doing in the schools,
Mm-hmm.
trying to prevent the school to prison pipeline, trying to make sure that young people got an education so they could have a career. and a good quality of life. And then when we see what happened when education fails, because almost every single person that walks through the doors of Justice for Housing, education failed them.
Right.
It failed them. They didn't get through the system of
Hmm.
education and they landed in prison,
Hmm.
you know? And not having housing, that foundation, very challenging. So being able to help them to get that and to move on with their lives and to pull their lives back together, it's an amazing feeling.
Right.
I feel blessed that I'm able to do that work with people.
That's amazing. And so, is there something that you've learned about yourself through this process? Because although the careers that you've had have been different from one another, there's characteristics that have always transferred, right? Like transferable
Hmm.
skills, but it seems like there's kind of like this support that you're providing in
Yeah.
in most of the roles that you've done. And so I'm guessing in each role you learn about yourself in a different way because they're essentially different roles. So how in this role have what have you learned about yourself
Oh, well,
through
I
this role?
I always knew that I had resilience. I always knew that,
Huh.
but I mean, when I went through what I consider my crisis, I really thought, like it- not, I always had the answer. I was always the go-to person.
Mhm.
But this time I didn't have the answer. I had to look to my God. Um, that's really where I got my inspiration from, but and all the people around me that love me and care
Mhm.
about me. So what I really learned about myself is that I really truly I think it's really truly in my DNA that I want to help others. Like, because for me to then turn this around and do this, it's not identical work, but it's the similar work and at the
Mhm.
same pace.
Mm.
And this teaching piece that is we're on the onset of launching our teaching component. So deep down inside, I've always been a teacher, and so
Mhm.
I'm getting to do it all over again, but just in a different arena,
Mhm.
So I guess what you could say is that I've always been a teacher, always will be a
Yeah.
teacher, even if they don't let me teach in the
Yeah.
schools. I'm still gonna be doing
It's gonna come up some way
exactly.
somehow.
It's still there. It's like
We'll
I'm
find
still
you.
doing it, and
Mhm.
I'm really, really, I feel blessed.
That's amazing. Yeah, some people just can't get out of a role
No,
because
I
it's
can't
just what
believe it.
yeah.
I'm literally the same way that I was functioning. I'm just a little bit more cautious now, but like the same way that I was functioning, the going above and beyond and spending the hours of and trying to make sure that everything is happening for somebody. I did that in the schools and I'm doing it with people who are homeless now.
That's amazing. That's really
Yeah.
beautiful. I wish, you know, I think because you're in love with the work that you do, that's a driving force and you care about people and that shows like tremendously. But I wish our world uh was on the same wave as you. Um
I feel like
yeah.
there's no, if you're not, my father was like this too. If you're not helping others, then what is the purpose? It's not just about you. It's always
Hmm.
about other people.
Right.
And if we're not helping other people, then we're not building a better community. So we
Hmm.
have to, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't feel that I'm the only person that does it. I mean, I have to, my executive director, she built this organization.
Hmm.
I feel blessed that she allowed me to be part of it, and it's just an amazing mission. It really is, and that's what drew me to the organization in the first place.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful mission. I wish I live in Rhode Island, and I'm sure we have something similar in Rhode Island, but I wish I knew about it a little bit more. I'm gonna have to do some
Mm.
research now. Um, but I want to continue on. So, looking back over your journey, is there a moment when you wish you had recognized your own power or impact more fully?
Hmm. That's a really good question. When I think about, I always knew that I had a powerful voice. I
Hmm.
always knew that. And I always knew that what I did was being looked at. And so I guess, well, obviously, I wish I didn't make the mistakes that I made. Those things, I really wish I hadn't made those mistakes, but I did.
Hmm.
And I'm human. and
Exactly.
um and we're resilient and we move on, and that's the
Hmm.
message that we have to give people. But I think that when all of that happened with me and I became just as involved, I think the bigger impact I that it was really important for me to show my children, my personal children, and the other people that were around me that always looked up to me, that that it's okay to admit when you're wrong.
Hmm.
It's okay to be vulnerable.
Hmm.
It's okay to ask for help and ask for love. And that's what I did. And I wanted to make sure that my children saw that because, generally speaking, I was always, in a leadership role, and I was always, the person that everybody looked up to. I was never able to just be vulnerable.
Mm.
And so this was a time where I felt like that vulnerability was actually more powerful than all this other stuff.
Mm.
It was really a powerful moment, and it allowed my family, friends, children, to see that it's okay.
Mm.
So that's kind of my answer.
Yeah.
I think it's really an important thing that every person who is leading, that vulnerability and asking for help is okay.
Right. Yeah, they don't have to hold it on their own all the time.
No, you don't. And
Right.
we all, and a lot of times Black women,
Hmm.
this is what we do.
Yeah.
And we find solace in one another, but we never want to let anybody see us sweat and all that other good stuff. But
Mm.
no, it doesn't have to be like that.
No, it doesn't. Yeah.
No. And that brings
Yeah.
us to genuinity. That's what genuinity offers.
I love that.
So
Yeah.
that's why I love genuinity.
That's amazing. I love that connection of I can be vulnerable in this space and ask
Yes,
for help and we can work together. And I like that's
so
essentially
important.
the purpose. Yeah.
I think every beautiful principal and headmaster in the Boston Public Schools, many of them are Black women, and they run themselves ragged um, to take care of other people's children and to run the school. And oftentimes do not take care of their self and their health.
Hmm.
And, um, we're just constantly working and fighting. It's a huge job, just a huge job. And so I just think that it's really, really important. And when I look back now, it's like your health and balancing family, balancing the work, critical.
Right. As human beings, sometimes we don't know how to do that sometimes. We don't get taught
Especially
those
when you're
things.
high powered. You're high powered, you're working, you to get, you're a leader, everybody in the
Hmm.
community, blah, 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 blah. You just keep going.
Yeah.
And that's how you make mistakes too.
So what have you, because I'm so curious when you say mistakes, because sometimes I look at mistakes and there's some mistakes in my life where I'm like, I wish I didn't do that. Yeah. I wasn't really in the present. I wasn't thinking, but there's some mistakes where I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm so glad I made that mistake because something came, something better came out of this. What are the mistakes? And is there something that you can think as like a positive aspect of these
Hmm.
mistakes?
Well, so I believe in God. So, and I believe
Hmm.
that God puts you through storms so that you'll grow closer to him. That's what I believe, right?
Me too.
And so there's always going to be when you're going through a storm, you always know that he got something better for you on the other end. You just have to have your eyes wide open and receive it.
Hmm.
It's like that with mistakes. Um, Sometimes you're moving too fast and things are happening in your family that you miss.
Mm,
because you're moving too fast, or sometimes you're moving so fast that I just think about my own children. I basically brought them to school with me. My daughter could have ran the school because she was with me so much in the school.
yeah,
She knew the school inside out, but I don't know how good that really was. But at the end of the day, um all of that is context, right? All of that is what we call here at Justice for Housing mitigating factors. They all build you. And
right,
so, and you learn something from all of that. So if there ends up being a collateral consequence for it, you learn, but that's something you learn. And you're either going to do it again or you're not going to do it again. These are all things that you learn. So
right,
no matter what mistake you make, you can learn from it, no matter what it is. And it's all part of who you are in your context.
right. Yeah,
So,
I believe the same. Yeah, I believe the same. Um, ooh, I guess this is like a really good extension of that question. Can you tell us about a time in your life when you were doing something brave or transformational but didn't see it that way yet? And
mm,
how do you see that moment differently now?
well, I'll tell you, because I was justice involved and I was all, it almost suppressed my voice.
Mm,
And I'm not sure if I'm answering the question, but I think we're on the verge of doing something extremely transformational right now by spreading out our hands-on defense model and sharing it with so many people across the state. That's the next move. And some people are going to like it and some people aren't going to like it, but we're going to empower a whole lot of formerly incarcerated people to be leaders in our community, and let's
mhm.
go. That's the way I feel, right?
Yeah.
But and so I had a big voice as a principal,
Hmm.
big voice, spoke up all the time, was co-president of the Headmasters Association, spoke up a lot, right? And I feel like my voice got suppressed when I went through my crisis, but
Mm,
it's not suppressed anymore. I'm feeling really empowered to do this next level of work. I'm so excited about it, and really hoping that we can just go full-fledged with it. But my executive director, she's always had the courage. She from the time she walked out of prison, she had the courage. I got, like I said, a little pushed back a little bit, but now I'm back up, and that also happens to people where you know, I just think that everybody has it in them and that we should never suppress how we're really feeling, you
no,
know?
that is scary. It's
Yep.
very scary. And I think also, I think and even when it comes to trauma informed awareness, because it's
Hmm.
so related to trauma in terms of
Yep.
if we feel safe to speak
Yes,
up. Do you know what I mean? And so
that's exactly it.
and I think that's huge. So I'm very curious about the hands-on defense. So is this more of like preparing folks when they are in a situation, they know exactly what to do? Is that more of what's going to be taught?
Well, what's going to be taught is how to prepare for your appeal
Okay.
and how to take your life story and turn it into advocacy,
Mm,
and how to take the people, community organizations that support you and use it to advocate for you. It's how to turn it all around. That's basically what it is. We are creating a counter narrative.
nice.
And so everybody's narrative is different, but everybody's narrative can be used in a very powerful way, to convince public housing authorities that there's nothing to be afraid of with this person, you
Right.
know. But we're also going to teach it to organizations, and other
Mm,
case managers. So it just won't be Justice for Housing. It will be other nonprofit organizations that work with people in the reentry community. It will be it could be hospitals, it could be educational institutions, it could be public housing authority, case managers, it could be and housing specialists. We have a laundry list of people that we want to spread this to. So we're really excited that we're beginning that work.
that's amazing. So
But
everyone can, support in some way, somehow, and have the
Yeah.
knowledge to.
It's
Um,
really to understand it, and
mhm,
know exactly what you can do.
right.
Um, and everybody be armed with that knowledge,
Hmm.
you know. It's really super exciting. But I think what's most exciting about it is it's not just the case managers and people who are supporting people who what we call JLLs, but it's JLLs themselves, empowering them, training them, having them become peer leaders and also facilitators of the
Mm,
training. That for me is super exciting and
that's
important.
very exciting.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
Let's go. We're going to teach everybody.
I love that. I want there to be a documentary so we can watch the whole process.
Yeah.
I
It's
love a
exciting.
documentary. Okay, and now we're gonna shift to Gen Unity questions.
Yeah.
You touched on it before, but and you've also kind of explained this already, but I'll open the door one more time with this question. So, in what ways has your life changed personally or professionally since joining Gen Unity?
Yeah. So what happened to me when I first, got started working for Justice for Housing and my boss, she said, Naia, do you want to be part of this Gen Unity community? They have a housing insecurity program. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do the training. But when I started going to the meetings and got into the trainings, I felt like there was so many things that were amazing about it, right? First of all, the facilitation was outstanding. Creating that safe space must be like your signature because like that's exactly what it was. And um, I felt very safe. People were very much open to hearing what you have to say. And so that was just like the initial, but what helped me a lot was that, like I said before, 30 years I was in a bubble of education. And now I'm actually in the community and I'm actually with real people. Not that I wasn't before, but I was with students and their families and it was all about their education. This was about housing insecurity, food insecurity, like um, problems that are in our society, not just education, and hearing real people, everyday people in our community come together and have these conversations and be able to share. That was beautiful. And it was like a stepping stone for me, to know, wow, I'm in a different space and this feels really, really safe and good. So I think that for me was super important.
That's really
That's what
nice.
Gen Unity did. It opened up just something I knew was there but didn't know and created an actual place for people to go, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. Yeah, intuitively you knew it was there. I love those moments. You're like, I knew this was here, but I didn't
Yeah.
know at the same time, but it's arrived.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Okay. Um, I guess this is like very similar, but what have you learned about yourself through your experience with Gen Unity?
This is the first time that I've actually told my story, other than to my family. Yeah.
I feel like you could write a whole book based
But
on your
like, I
bio.
mean, people know my story, my educational bio, but they don't know necessarily all about my crisis that I went through and the trauma that I experienced and the trauma my family experienced. And so Gen Unity has really, you know, just been like a space that's been
Yeah.
amazing for me. And I'm just so appreciative.
Yeah. Is that something you want to share more of?
I'm not sure yet. I'm thinking about it, right? And I have
Yeah,
been thinking about it, and but it's just been an opportunity that I really appreciate.
of course. Well, we appreciate it. There's so much knowledge and I know the hour is coming up. So, and I feel like we touched on one corner of like so many corners, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so I feel like I'm like, oh my God, there could be a book written or something that you could write, like an autobiography, um because you share a lot and I feel like you have
Mm.
also so much wisdom to share as well. Um also because you were an educator, but it doesn't have to just be as an educator, right? It's just you're a human, and we have so
Yeah.
much to share as humans.
Yes.
And I'm sure you learn so much from the people that you help at Justice for
Hmm.
Housing, and they can be teachers as well.
Oh,
Teach you in
that's
so many
exactly the
ways.
reason why I'm so excited about this hands-on defense course and developing the peer leaders because they're incredible. Their stories
Yeah,
are incredible and they have so much to offer. And they deserve also the space to do that work too.
right. Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. That's beautiful.
Hmm.
Is there anything else you want to share to the Gen Unity community?
I've always wanted to say, I mean, I think one of the things that I also didn't know is that Gen Unity, you can join different programs within Gen Unity. So I think offering that is an amazing opportunity for people to stay connected. And I just appreciate Gen Unity and all that that you guys have offered, you know.
Yeah, we appreciate you for being part of the community. It's so nice to have you with us, and I'm so glad that we had the chance to speak with you and to ask you
Mhm.
questions about your experiences. And yeah, so thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you. Like I said, this is Gen Unity has really been that gem of a space
Hmm.
that many of us need.
Hmm.
And so I just need you to know that. And
Thank you so for sharing. Thank you so much.
yeah. All
We
righty.
appreciate it. All right. Well, thank you again, and I hope you have a good day.